What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Can't Afford a Therapist podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, my future agent, right? So if you have any booking information, if you have any contract, you send it her way. Meet Dalal Kaddoura. What's up, Dalal?
Oh my God. Lovely greeting. Oh my gosh, I love that. How are you?
Good, good. That is how I've been describing this show. I'm like, I met this girl at a bar in California. Um, she's gonna run my life for the next 5 years. So
That's
if you have
great.
any
I'm here
contracts,
for it.
send it to this chick
Send it to her.
because
Love it.
she's
That's
got like I've never met anybody going to be an agent or even knows the route to being an agent. First person, that's it. You signed up. Sorry, you met
that's
me
it.
at a
I'm in.
bar. Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny because I was like thinking about it and I'm like, I haven't seen you. You and I met like in August, right?
June,
June?
June.
June.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
Wild.
really off on days.
It's the only reason why I know that is because we were there for like to send off a kid to war, and
I remember that. He was
yeah,
like an officer,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You want to know what fucking happened, right? He got
What?
sent off to war, but it's like 5-star hotels in the Middle East.
Yeah, he's like in Dubai right now, isn't he?
He's chilling. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, this is not. I'm
No,
like,
no, no.
you got us all nervous to fly out half across the
Everyone's
country.
like, yeah, no. So when I moved to San Diego, ironically, like the first people I met were all in the Navy. So I got like
That's everybody.
adopted by like a ship. Which you're right, everyone in San Diego is like in the Navy. And so like these guys are like they're such sweethearts. I still like talk to like at least half of the people that I met by that point. And um they were all going on deployments, like they ended up going to Guam. They ended up going to like just random areas they got back and now they're up in Seattle. But like I have another person who I met like recently and they got shipped out on deployment and they're currently in like Dubai. They're just sitting there like showing like themselves going around like the workouts that they're doing, like state of the art stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I did something wrong with my life right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Like,
Like everyone says, like, oh, if when you join the military, like the government owns you, the government does this. It's like,
I mean,
yo,
they do.
they do,
Technically, they do.
but
Your contract basically said that you have no legal rights and you're owned by the government. You're technically government property by that point. You have no like freedom of speech. You don't have any like major constitutional rights at that point. You're kind of like shit out of luck. But
we can get super duper into that. I'm a hardcore leftist, right? I see the
like,
military as a social stepping stone for people, but when I start seeing what this man's doing, eating steaks in a 5-star restaurant, I'm like, huh, I fucked up, didn't I?
so that's where my tax dollars are going.
Yeah,
So
well,
I
military industrial complex, baby. That's what
you
it
want to see
is.
my main argument. I'm like, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this,
Go
and I
ahead. I don't.
apologize.
No,
Like, guys, it's fine.
I just produced an
Um,
episode with the podcast group called the Alt Left. You won't get any hate. Don't worry. They
no,
will
no,
take it all.
it's fine, it's fine. No, but like my whole question is like, and I've always thought about this because like I school's expensive at this moment.
So
I
much.
know a lot of people that are graduating with a whole bunch of debt and student loans. I know that we have the shittiest healthcare. I had to go to like 6 doctors once for someone to be like, yeah, no, you're right, you're sick. Because otherwise, like, doctors would, especially as a woman, doctors are like, well, is it your period? Are you just like being a little sensitive? Maybe it's just your eating habits. Lose some weight. Like that's all I usually get as a female going into a doctor's office. Like those are the
Also,
three
as a
to four
fat
things.
man, I hear
I
lose
mean,
some
yes,
weight.
like always, always. But no, so I literally sat there and I was like, and I'm like, and then like healthcare is fucking expensive, and you have to pay for like everything is like out of pocket at this point. Like I can't. So I literally sat there and my whole thing of whenever I meet people that are in the military, I just want to see where they kind of like my little feeler question is, so what do you say when I tell people that we should take basically like between 2 to 5% of the military budget and use it for other things? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let's take that 2 to 5%, put it towards education. Let's put it towards universal health, like healthcare. It doesn't even have to be like universal healthcare, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, no,
fix the
just maybe a
healthcare
single
self
payer,
there.
maybe just the right
Like
direction or something.
fix the healthcare system. Like I would love universal healthcare. I know people like hate that shit because taxes, but like fix the healthcare system. I
People
mean, don't
hate
get me
that
wrong.
shit because of taxes, but they don't understand where most of their tax dollars are going. Like,
Going. No, and
yeah,
here's a fun thing. I've taken 2 tax classes so far in law school. For some odd reason, I decided to get a business concentration.
but I mean,
So
that's smart.
I've done corporate tax and I've done like standard tax. So now I understand the tax codes a lot better than I used to. So I sit there and I'm like, oh, we can't do that. But I'm like, take that 2 to 5%, put it towards health education, put it towards healthcare, put it towards other things that will help the nation as a whole. Like I know people are like, oh, that's so socialistic and whatever. And I'm like, technically that's all government really is in general at the beginning and the start of it. Like, but so like, okay, we have all this money that's going towards the military budget. We have all this money that's going towards like infrastructure and things like that. Do we really have an itemized receipt? I want to like audit everything.
Well, you can find itemized receipts. The military pays like $75 for a hammer.
I mean,
Hammers
like
don't
it's
cost
like, no,
that
because
much.
I got told like the little $5 towels at like Home Depot or whatever it is, like they'll just like have it like 50 of them on the budget, and for
But they
like
also jack up the price of them. But they're not paying that much money for towels or hammers and stuff. It's kind of just like it's money laundering essentially. I'm gonna try and keep this from being. That's what it is. I'm gonna try and keep this from being like a super political podcast, and I do want to learn about.
that's fine. No,
What?
that's fine.
But because no, I'm hardcore. We can make this turn real quick. I'm letting
like
you know.
so fucking. It's really funny because I'm like so in the middle. It's like insane because I'm like I see reasoning on both sides. I understand it, but I think right now what's going on is that people are just like so divided over like the smallest things.
But that's what.
That,
Yeah.
like, so no one's really like having a discussion about it. And I feel like if you can have a discussion or a debate, it's fine.
But the
Okay,
division.
continue. Sorry, I'll interrupt.
That's fine. We're gonna interrupt each other a lot. That's the energy this episode's bringing. We're 6 minutes in, and we've said a lot of words. But the division there, right? The division that you bring up is manufacturing.
Yeah.
It's not a real division. It's I spoke about this on a previous episode. Republicans and Democrats, two sides of the same coin. They work for the same people at the end of the day, right? And it's the mighty dollar. That's what's gonna happen. To get a little bit into the medical industry, like the medical stuff, I'm super pro universal health care. Before my situation had changed, I was in a union job, had a nice benefits, quote unquote. That's how they package it, but it was kind of garbage. To quit, right? I quit my job in October in that massive, like, quitting, massive recession thing, like the great, quit. The Great Recession. I don't know what the fuck they were calling it. There's a bunch of people quit. I was one of those people. To follow like what I wanted to do, right? I had no backup plan. I had no job lined up. Luckily for me, within 3 days I had a job. But with that comes now I'm technically working for myself. Don't have access to health insurance unless I pay. Literally, I'm gonna have to give my arm to this because I'm not making too much money, and that's the kind of themes that come up when I talk to people who are much more successful, 10 years, 20 years down the line in this position than I am. And they're like, yeah, you're not going to eat for a year. Like, it's going to suck. But I'm like, yo, like, that shouldn't be a thing. But, like, it seems to be like everyone needs to start off from this. I hate to pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. One, there's like the full quote behind it too, where it, like if you read the second half, it kind of says pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is impossible because it's like you can't.
It's like the blood of the coven is what is it? Like the blood of the womb is thicker than it's actually no. It's like the blood of the coven is thicker than the water of the womb. And instead of blood is thicker than water.
Rhetoric and linguists, like everything changes all the time. It's the same thing with statistics. You being a lawyer in law school, you would understand statistics is all how about you frame it, right? It's all about how you say things. You can make any stat say anything. And I brought this up at my family dinner, I think today.
And you brought that up on a family dinner?
Well, it was something like about statistics. I'm like, how you can make statistics say anything. Right? Okay. I'm the worst at dinner. I talk about politics and like the news, and everyone's like, we're just trying to enjoy my meal. And we're like, we're all gonna melt to death, right? Like global war. Like I'm just the worst. But my dad brought it up. He goes, analytics ruins everything, and he's had that point for a long time for about sports. He loves sports. Sports is just
sports is my jam.
His thing. Exactly. That's why I wanted to say this to you. Analytics has ruined sports in good ways and bad ways. Yes, like baseball, it's made it better, sure. But in football, they're starting to do more analytics, and you're seeing a lot more wild shit that does not work out. I'm like, yeah, you can't put a percentage to a 350-pound beast of a man that's just gonna punch his way through your quarterback. Like that's not you can't do that. So like
it's funny you say that because I know a lot of people that when they first started getting into sports, they got into the analytics and statistics side of it. Like I think that I don't know if he's still the general manager of the Coyotes, but something Shaika was his last name. He basically like created this whole like statistics and analytics like analyzer type thing when he was a kid, sold the software like and ended up becoming that general manager, because he can look at how players are playing and apparently determine like their next statistics and how they're going to play the next game. But I think that's so like, they're people.
Yeah, it dehumanizes.
People like are never going to perform the same way from day to day. And I mean, like, you're gonna have a good day one day, and like I understand like consistency is a thing. Like that's the only reason why, like, if we're gonna, I know way too much about hockey, but like Sidney Crosby, for example, if everyone knows Sidney Crosby, that's great. He's like,
I don't know nothing about hockey. I'm a football guy.
So okay, Tom Brady.
Okay.
We can do Tom Brady. Tom Brady is like 40-something years old and still one of the best players in the NFL.
A statistical anomaly.
I will give him props for that, because I mean, like, I don't give a crap about football, but like that man is like like you said, he's a statistical anomaly. I can't speak today.
Anomaly. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Words are hard for me too. It's okay.
I speak 5 languages. Words are always hard.
That's impressive.
We're not gonna.
No, that's just impressive.
We'll go there later. But no, so like Tom Brady, for example, right? You can tell throughout the years how his play has changed. He's a little slower, yes, for sure, and everything else, but because he can read a play and he can read the field and he can tell where he's gonna have his like tight end go or whatever it is. Like, gotta love Gronk for like literally like they communicate. If you look at the videos, they're communicating about what he wants and what each person wants and everything else. But like the man can read a football field and can tell where he wants to go and at least nail it, because he's no longer in his prime where he can like run the thing or like do whatever, but his throw is still consistent. He's been consistent in his training and everything else. So like once you reach your peak, the thing that athletes need to do is stay consistent. And that's how stats, I think, kind of get misconstrued sometimes.
Well, you're only talking about one half of Tom Brady, right? You say you're not super into football. You know how he stayed at this level until this age? It's his TB12 method, which is you're gonna see when you get involved with more sports like athletes and stuff, that the TB12 method will be a thing that you will be seeing. It's like he somehow prolonged his life. It doesn't make any sense.
Is it like his whole diet thing where he like doesn't eat tomatoes because they're inflammatory and like
doesn't eat tomatoes, doesn't eat avocado, doesn't eat anything.
He has like a specific type of workout that he specifically does on specific days, and then he has like
sleeps
a
in a
whole like
hyperbolic
specific
chamber.
diet.
He does all these extra things that has I guess it's got to have prolonged his life, because it's either it's prolonged his life in crazy ways or shortened his life for this like peak level of fitness later on until like his mid 40s, because he plays tomorrow, right? We are the 22nd, January 22nd. Yeah. They play tomorrow. They're probably gonna win, and they're probably gonna go back to the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous.
I want someone else to win just because I feel like he's won a lot.
He's won too many times.
He's won way too many times. Like for me, actually, it's really funny because like I never really paid attention to football because I'm originally from Arizona, and like Arizona just has never had really good sports teams. Like we're there for entertainment. Like we're doing great now, which I didn't know until someone told me, and then I started watching them again, and it was like all of it. It was like the NHL, the NFL. I mean, Major League Baseball just went into a lockout.
Yeah, I just heard about that. Didn't know a thing about that. All right, so how would you handle a situation like that?
Like a lockout?
Like a lockout.
What goes on? So with agents, okay, I actually know this because I asked an agent. We had agents come into my class. I took a sports law class. It's great. I love it. It's like I still have the textbook. I refuse to sell it. Okay. So with agents and everything else, once you're an agent for a league, there's specific requirements by the league that you're supposed to do. Like the NHL is like a really low bar where you basically like become an agent, you sign up, and then you're officially like a unionized agent. So you're able to assist players with their collective bargaining agreements.
Oh, nice.
So NFL, same thing. MLB, same thing. MLB actually doesn't have a union, which is why it's really weird. So with agents, what happens is an agent take on your player, and you sit there and you go negotiate their contract with the team itself. So baseball has like the exception rule because baseball is like really weird and they don't actually have a collective bargaining agreement or a union yet.
And they also don't have cap space, so they throw around absurd amounts of money.
So I no one quote me because I'm like 75% sure I'm right on what I'm saying right now. Because we focused a lot more on like the NBA and the NFL and the NHL because they do have all these collective bargaining agreements. So once as an agent, when there is a union of players, the reason why you can't sue on antitrust because you officially have a deal, you have this contract, and you can only really do that and do the antitrust thing with monopoly and is when you don't have that collective bargaining agreement. It's also the same reason why they had the age restrictions of like coming into the NBA, the NFL, and the NHL, and that's usually when you have your agents also being able to assist players in negotiating all of that within their player association and then with the league itself. So with baseball, that lockout, what it is that's a power of the owners and the commissioner. Players can strike. They're technically employees. They can do a player strike. A
There's no
lockout is on
protections.
management. No, but so basically, a lockout is when the owners themselves are like they're sitting there trying to negotiate the salaries and everything else with the season right now, and the play owners are like, no, we don't want to give you this, so we're just gonna have a lockout. So it's the owners basically shutting down the game.
Yeah.
And then the commissioner kind of just like agreed with them apparently, and everyone hates Manfred at this point.
Well, everyone's hated him since he called the trophy a piece of metal.
I mean, yeah, is that true? And
How do you
then like
disrespect your
signing
own
the
league
Astros
like
a
that?
little later. Dude, there's a whole thing. Like the power of the commissioners is basically so specifically in baseball. I mean, like if you read like past cases, which I that's like one of my favorite thing that I did in my classes was we were reading the past cases, like Kuhn. Everyone hated Kuhn, but Kuhn's whole thing is like for the like the whole thing about sports is that the defense is different and the powers of the commissioner are for the good of the sport in general.
Yeah.
So it's like what
Well,
is
it's for the
best.
good of the owners.
It's no, like the commissioner powers. It says it in the contracts and like in their little contractual agreement of like their player, whatever the league constitution is what they call it, but it's honestly just a contract.
Mm.
It says that the like is in the best interest of the sport. So it has to be in the best interest of the sport as a whole, not even the owners, which is why we have like issues. But I'm really sad because I like was hoping.
Well, I'm happy that you bring up the NFLPA and stuff like that, though, because I was literally taking notes from their strike tactics. I tried to set up a strike at my last job. We were going through a sale. They were threatening to not sign with the union, the new owner. Like there was a lot going on here, right? And I don't know jack shit about law, but I know about my labor rights and like my labor as like my commodity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that listen, if they're coming in, we can stop working and things will be different. Like that's what we have to use, right? And I started looking at the NFLPA and like, what do they do? 3 years prior, them knowing that this was going to happen, they started collecting a war chest. A little bit of money from each of the players' contracts.
Well, you usually have player dues coming in with that player association. Like, say that you have like to be a part of this, you're spending say like $70 or like 50 or whatever money it's agreed upon to help finance all of this and stuff like that. So
yes,
that's what you kind of start
it says
needing
that
to
in
do.
the contracts, but like, again, we were janitorial staff. We don't have much money to even get involved with lawyers, especially when a union. So this is what like a lot of people don't really understand about unions, especially when they don't work through one. Is a lot of the union representation is not really there for you. It's there to work with the ownership. It's there to work with like 9 times out of 10.
Sadly,
that's
though.
been my experience with unions. Is that they don't give a shit about the regular employee. It's maintaining the relationship with the business so they get the contract back. That's it. So I'm like, fuck
That's
it.
fair.
I'm doing my own strike. I was trying to collect money from people, but they didn't make enough money to even do that. Start a war chest. It's all deliberate, and that's why I like the NFLPA setup. You can you can criticize what they do all the time. There's some fuckery going on, especially with like the COVID stuff.
Oh, dude, you can just criticize like all sports at all times. What I've learned.
Yeah. Well, to what I specifically bring up COVID about the NFLPA is because I don't know if you knew about this, but this would be an interesting thing, especially like going on as like an agent. So the NFLPA president was on a team that got a COVID breakout. Right, 10, 12 players got COVID. He happened to negotiate with the league, as the union president, to postpone that game. When the union and the league both agreed prior to the season that if a team can't make a game a certain week, they would forfeit.
So also you pushed it back. That's interesting. That's actually really interesting that you say that because I know for right now, like especially with like what is it, Antonio Brown, and how like he's been like falsifying vaccine cards, and same with like is it Nick Foley that like had to pay a fine and whatever, and like a whole bunch of people are getting fined at this point. Yeah. There's just honestly like I look at sports and I don't see it from like, for me, I mean I love sports as a fan and I love watching it, but I also started seeing it from like a very practical perspective because I've worked in sports as well, like on the back end side with ticket sales and everything. So for me, it's like never what's going to be produced on the field is what you're going to expect. And so I will literally be like, I was watching the 49ers game with my friend, right? And like I said, I know nothing about football. All I know is that their quarterback is hit or miss all the time.
Hey,
He's either
hey.
having a good
I'm
game
hoping he
or he's
comes to
having
New York. Relax.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, handsome James. I'm hoping he comes.
Don't get me wrong, he's gorgeous. I mean,
I
like,
need.
can't
Well, we
say
just don't have a quarterback here, and I think he could do well for a year or two.
I don't know, but no, like I mean, like he was just doing so badly with the team itself. Like he
Yes.
was like he didn't see where like the player was going. He was missing like open areas. He was like, I was literally looking at him. I'm like, he's not reading the plays right. And so my biggest thing was like, I was like, why did I
I
even
was
start
hoping for him
him?
to come. You know.
You can have him, but
No, I don't
I'm
want
just
him
saying
now.
this, I'm just saying
If you don't watch football and you're saying he sucks.
No, this is from like my perspective of like from what I've heard from all the fans and like how I saw him play that game. I mean, granted, they won the game that night. Like they pulled all the way through. Like all my friends are like 49er fans at this point, and like he pulled through. Like they won and everything. But I'm literally there watching it, going, okay, so they're down this many this many points. I also don't understand why it's like you have to have 6 points for a touchdown, like and then add one with the kick.
Don't. I don't know. I've played football. I've watched football my entire life. No one's ever explained to me why the points are the points.
So I understand that as Americans, like the reason why I feel like hockey hasn't been a very big sport, or soccer or hockey or anything in the United States, is because like we like high scoring games. Remember, soccer is like you get a goal, it's a 1 point. Same thing with hockey, goal, 1 point.
Ties.
Basketball is like a basket's 2. You got the 3-pointers. You've got like, I mean, I think that's the extent of it. Yeah.
No, 3-pointers. There's a 3-pointer.
Yeah, you've got 3-pointers. And you got like a normal is 2, and then there's a 3-pointers. Is there anything else? Is there like a 5-pointer? Or am I just like going crazy?
No, but you can get like you can score 3, get fouled, and then get a 4th point.
Okay, so
like you can score 4 points on a play.
Okay, and then like with football, it's touchdown is 6, and then the kick is 1 if you get the kick into the little goalpost thingy. So we like high scoring games, but I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, he's not even. Like it's like a open. I literally looked at him like it's like an open patch of ice. Just find the space where your guy is going. That's not having 2 people defending him. And I'm like, why did he start him? He's like, well, it's the last game before we get into playoffs. It's like really important. Blah blah blah. It's like it's the one that's gonna get us into the wild card game. And I'm like, then why start the guy that hasn't been consistent? I'm talking about consistency, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm like, what about the second string? He's like, oh, he's been like pretty consistent, and I'm like.
But that brings it back to what you said before, right? Doesn't it take the human element out of it?
It does take the human element out of it, but I'm watching it. I'm like, if this human themselves have been inconsistent and they consistently get injured, like every single time he tries to run, he gets injured. Every single time something happens, he's gotten injured. I'm like, if this guy is prone to injuries, sit him out. And if it's a really important game, put in someone that that's not going to get injured.
Yeah, but in certain situations, you might need to like risk it. Well, you ever heard risk it for the biscuit? Like.
Yes, I have. And honestly, and this is why I will never understand sports, because I'll look at it and I'd be like, oh, I mean, like you can do this and that. And I'm like, well, honestly, like I could be wrong.
Perfect example. Perfect. You bring up the 49ers game, right? Who are they playing?
Yeah.
The hated Dallas Cowboys. Boo.
I watched that game. That was the slowest game of my life.
Yeah. So the decision, right? The human error at the end of the game, Dallas could have won 100%. The human error did not come from the coach. Everyone's blaming the coach for this play. I don't think. No, it wasn't the refs. It was the quarterback.
The quarterback?
Yeah, it was 100% the quarterback.
Dude, I don't understand. Like, I watch football, and I'm like, it's just like someone's trying to take a ball to the end side, and
but here we go, though. Consistently great. Dak Prescott, I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys. As a Giants fan, it's in my blood that I hate them. That's what it is. I like Dak Prescott. It sucks to say that out loud, but I like him. He fucked up he was supposed to go 2 yards. 2 yards saves 2 seconds. That's it. Spike the ball. You've got a time to go for a touchdown, win the game. Which is totally possible, and he's done it before in the season. He instead runs 14 yards, fucks up because he panics, doesn't give the ball to the ref, which is why everyone's blaming the refs. You're supposed to give the ball to the ref. They set the ball. That's the whole point of the thing. I don't know why we're talking about this, but the consistency part of it is he fucked up, and if he would have played like he normally played, they would have probably
won the game.
It probably would have won.
So like,
that's the thing.
So like, sports is basically all just human error and like contract. It's basically what it is.
Yeah.
You try to find like the thing.
Okay. All right. That's good that you bring up contracts, because how did we get here? What made you want to be An agent.
So I worked for a hockey team from the ages of like 18 to like 22 for in my undergrad,
Okay.
and I was like their collegiate hockey manager, and I had like 18 babies that I was like looking at. I call them babies. They're my boys. I love them so much. I basically was doing all their marketing stuff, and I was basically running the show, and we had like specific contracts with sponsorship stuff and everything else. I'm like, well, I like that part. Like I like negotiating and assisting in that sense. And then I did ticket sales, where I think helped me hone a whole bunch of skills because now I can sell snow to a snowman.
Okay. That's
And
good.
I started working, and I realized that I had more to do with my life than just sell tickets. And I hate saying that because I know
No,
so
no.
many people that are amazing ticket sales people, and like we need you guys because I honestly hate Ticketmaster. It just like over upcharges you on the end. By the way, guys, if you're gonna buy tickets to any sporting game, like pick up the phone and call their ticket sales center. You're gonna get a better deal. I'm not even like they're not trying to rip you off. They're gonna give you the market value price of the game itself, and you are not going to end up having like $50 on the back end fee because of Ticketmaster or whatever processor server they have that sells you your ticket.
Again, not to shit
But
on like ticket salespeople, but like that you that's a similar story to what I had. I left the job to go pursue something else. Right?
yes,
People have. I think inherently most people have greater ambitions than just selling tickets. So like I think some people don't. Sure, good for them. Like, but I think more realistically, there's like other factors keeping people stuck at that level.
for me there was, yeah, I get that. For me it was more of a thing of like I needed something more. I needed
Yeah.
to be stimulated a lot more. And I
Oh
don't get me wrong,
hell
I
yeah.
loved my job. I loved the people I was working with. I had a great boss. I loved the team. It was great. I just needed something different.
Yeah.
And
You
I
were
even had my boss be like,
blossoming.
he's like, I knew I was gonna lose you after a year. He's like, you were meant for bigger things. And I was like, thank you for saying that. I feel weird and bad about like the fact that I'm leaving all of you because we're kind of like a family.
But
Um,
that validation is good, especially in sports
it
and
was
especially as a woman where you're probably the minority.
Oh, yeah, it was actually, I think our office was, no, it was still male dominated, but we had at least like five women in office. It's great.
Which is
So,
signs of progression,
which was
which is
better than
good.
a lot of sports teams
Yeah.
because we were a really small office too. So, no, so I did that and I applied to law schools. And I actually like even, I didn't decide to go to law school until my last year of undergrad because I was like, ooh, that sounds like a good job. And I'm reading the job descriptions and it's like, you know, 5 years experience of this, 3 years of experience with a JD, like having all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, like time to get the JD. Let's go, girl. So I did that. I applied to law school. I applied to like everywhere. I was not gonna risk not getting in at that point. And then I got waitlisted into like a whole bunch. I got into a whole bunch, and then it was like I got into San Diego. So I got into the University of San Diego, and then I got
What a place
into
to land.
University of Arizona. And so I was waitlisted at University of Arizona, which is my hometown. And I was like, I was a U of A graduate, and I was like, okay, fine. If I get into my hometown school, I'll stay. It's cheaper. It's like 25 grand because it's in-state tuition for law school, which is unheard of. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll stay and like I'll figure out my shit here. And like I have contacts in Phoenix. I still have my contacts in Arizona, in Tucson, and then like we'll go from there.
And I mean, you've got
Um,
major sports teams. The Cardinals are there.
yeah,
The Cardinals have
yeah, exactly.
affiliates.
I already worked for the Coyotes before. Like I knew my people. I knew who to talk to. I have a network, who I still talk to, and they're absolutely amazing. And then I ended up going through. I got like a final call on like the last day of like the waitlist period, where they're like, "Yeah, we're so sorry that we cannot offer you a seat here." And I'm just like sobbing. We're in La Jolla. My family and I had already come to San Diego just in case. We were like touring apartments, and we were just deciding to like walk around La Jolla and the Cove, and I'm just like sobbing. And everyone's like, "What is wrong?" And I'm like, "I didn't get into U of A, so I guess I'm just staying."
Ha-
Or they're like, "Are you sad?" And I'm like, I think I'm just so stressed out. I just don't know how to process emotions.
sure,
And
that's a legitimate thing. But like, you're in La Jolla. You can just take a look around and be like, oh shit, I think I won this situation.
it's like the weirdest thing. My brain was just like start sobbing. I was like, I didn't know how to deal with
The
it because like
stress, yeah.
yeah, it's just the stress, and it's because I had no idea. I had already packed up my life. Like all my shit was in my car. I had packed up my everything on the expectation that I'm going to be in San Diego just in case. And there was that like very small chance that I was going to end up driving 5.5 hours back home and just getting set up for classes on Monday. And so both schools started on the exact same day. And San Diego was having their orientation for that week that I had come in and I was like looking at apartments, but I missed all of it because I was like, I don't know if I'm staying. And I
Damn,
I
that's
got into the whole thing
but that adds
Friday.
to
I
the
like,
stress. I wouldn't be able to
dude,
handle
no,
that.
I got like Friday. I drove in I think like Friday morning, right? We left Arizona at like 5 in the morning. We got in around like 1 p.m. here. Which honestly at that point there was no time difference. Daylight savings also, screw like fucking daylight savings. I will get into that in a minute, but like let me finish this.
Just keep
So
going, keep
we
going. You're
got
on a
in.
roll.
I got into the university. I like signed up all my like paperwork of like my enrollments. Here I am. Here's my information. Here's all this stuff. I don't even have an in San Diego address. So I put in my Arizona address and like just change it later. I'm like, cool. Still haven't changed it, guys. 3 years later. I ended up going to meet my parents, who my dad was already apartment hunting for me, like since we were in Arizona. We come in and like in the span of 3 days, once I find out that I'm not going to school in Arizona, that's a Friday. By Monday, I have leased an apartment, got furniture, found a bed, like my kitchen is fully stocked and like functioning. My living room is coming in that Thursday of that week because I ordered it all together at once. And like, yeah, I found like a steal for like I went to like an Ashley's home furniture store, and they were having like a mega sale on like everything. So I got like 2 chairs, 2 tables, no, 3 tables, 2 chairs, lamps, like decorative stuff, all for like a rug, all for like under like 500, like $500 to $700. Like
Dude,
real
I
cheap.
hate shopping for furniture.
Dude, my parents were with me, and my dad's like, well, so what? And I'm like, I just want my colors to be like blue, gray, and white, so I can put in like accents of like pink or like silvers and things like that. And like my dad, I mean, let's see, like if I didn't have my dad, I don't know what I would have done. And I'm so fortunate. Like I know how lucky I am, and I know how fortunate I am to have like the family that I have, because we're so close knit, and like my parents will do anything for me, and I'm such a fucking princess because of it. Like my dad did everything for me.
Uh,
My dad fixed up my life like when I first came to San Diego, and then when like COVID hit and I had to go, we did remote, like all my stuff was in storage. And like when we got back, like I moved in, and I did it. He came in like the week afterwards, and like he's like so supportive. He's like, are you happy? Do you need anything else? Like he doesn't ask me about my spending habits. He doesn't ask me like
must
what
be
I need.
nice.
None of that. None of that. I'm so lucky. Like he's now like, oh, are you happy? Are you okay? Like,
That's
do you need
great
anything?
though.
Like
That's a great
it's
relationship to
it's
have.
oh, and it's developed into that. So like I'm so grateful that we've gotten so much better, because right now I'm in San Diego. It is January what, 22nd. It is 71 degrees outside. I was just doing classes outside.
I don't.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
show's over. Show's over. Everything's done. I'm sitting here in a sweater, sweatpants, my
I mean, like I'm in long
heaters
sleeves, but I'm
on.
wearing like
Yeah,
little shorts, and
yeah.
I'm like,
No, this is not fair. I'm freezing in my own home.
so in my defense, I get cold very quickly. Like the inside of my apartment, I think is at 65 degrees, but I currently have all the windows and the doors open, and I have like this nice cross breeze coming in. I've got sun shining. I think tomorrow I'm gonna go to the beach.
Yeah, it must be nice. When I was out there, when I was in San Diego, that was like the one thing I was freaking out. I'm like, what do you mean my Airbnb doesn't have an air conditioner? I'm like, what?
You don't need it.
That's what people tell me. Like, you're not gonna
if you're
need
not
an air
facing
conditioner.
westward. So I face westward. So my apartment gets really, really warm in the afternoons, right? But so I literally just went and I bought a fan, like used off of like OfferUp for like $20, because the air conditioning in my unit. So I have a 2 bedroom, and it kind of gets one bedroom cold fast, and then it gets it to the other section. And by the time it gets to the other section, it's really it doesn't give me like cool air. And I'm like, I don't want to turn on the air conditioning. Like, why would I? It's not necessary. So I have a little fan that I'll just move around, because it's small enough that I can turn on and get like a lovely cross breeze
It
with the
was.
windows open.
It's like it's just something like I never really, because it's the humidity. Humidity beats the shit out of me here in New York, and I'm like sitting
So
there in
yeah.
San
Oh
Diego just
yeah.
chilling. I'm like, this is
So
what the
which
fuck is this?
neighborhood
This
are
is
you in? Are you
magical.
like, which neighborhood are you in?
In Queens or in San Diego when I was there?
Oh no, so you're in Queens in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah, yeah. So I'm in New York. It's called Ridgewood. It's like the outside suburbs of the city in Queens. I'm like on the borderline of Brooklyn. I'm in a really good spot. It's just like
No, the reason why I ask is because in
weird.
April, before I met you, I actually went to New York.
Really?
Yeah, so I ended up doing so because like my school, I go to a private Catholic school. I hate saying that. It makes me feel
Classic.
weird. But they give me like Easter off, and I'm not Christian. So I was like, cool, I have what, from that Thursday to that Monday off. Called up my friend who's originally from New York, like and like Boston area. And she has like a place in Queens. And I was like, so I have 4 days. How is your schedule looking? She's like, I'm down to go. I'm like, cool. I call up another friend. I'm like, hey, I'm going to New York. Do you want to join? These two girls have never met each other. I do a Zoom call. I introduce them on the Zoom call. We get our finances done. We figure out our flights. We order the plane tickets, everything else. We fly out. They're both going into one airport. I'm going to another. They come and pick me up. We end up going to her apartment. She lives in Jamaica, and then we end up spending the rest of the time in Manhattan. And my other best friend lives in Brooklyn. So like I just spent all of New York just exploring museums.
Yo, not a bad way to spend your time in New York.
No, it was like
I live in between your two friends.
okay,
Literally,
cool.
like,
So
in
that makes
between.
that, which is why because like we walked all of New York. My friend like will walk you to death. So we
Mhm.
literally walked from the east side to the west side of Manhattan and like going up and down and everywhere.
That's what I did in
So
California, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I
well, California is not
look,
like
I
New York where
walk."
you can literally rock everything in like grids unless you're like downtown or you're like in those little
But
neighborhoods.
none of
Like
my friends
I
are from New York City, so they were like, "You're an animal. Well, you walk everywhere." I'm like, "Yeah, that's. I can't afford a car.
But you
I
also,
can't
but
park."
like New York also, like I have to give props to New York. New York actually grew in a way that makes sense for a city. Like you guys have a functioning like subway system. You guys
No,
have a
we
functioning
don't.
public transport. No, but like you at least can get everywhere with a subway.
True, but it's
You
like
can literally get everywhere with a
it
subway. I
barely
have to like
works.
if like the trolley. I have a trolley, and like if I'm gonna take the trolley, it only goes so far. Like Arizona, zero public transportation besides like buses.
And and that's a failure of the local governments and failure of like the federal government system because they don't do infrastructure enough.
No, and the
What?
thing is, like Arizona, instead of growing up, it grew out. So it was like very weird. And even like Phoenix, which has a very limited highway system, like Tucson, it's really funny because Tucson only has the 10. And then we have the in quotations like the 201, I think it's called. And that's honestly just to get you from downtown to the Air Force Base and to the east side. And that's it.
Okay,
Doesn't do anything.
this is very off topic, but it's just popped into my head. So Arizona, right? I'm thinking like,
Hmm.
is there culture shock going from Arizona to San Diego? I'm seeing a lot of turquoise in your life prior to the beach.
No, so I think there's there's because Arizona's a whole bunch of like Native American reservations.
Hmm.
We have a lot of turquoise anyways. We have like one of the biggest copper and turquoise like depositories in Arizona.
Yeah, I just
I'm
think
also Lebanese. So I
everybody's got
grew up with
turquoise in Arizona.
no, so like growing up I've always had turquoise in my life too, just from like my family and everything. We like adore turquoise. I have like turquoise earrings. I have like turquoise necklace. Was I wearing turquoise the day I met you?
Probably, I don't know.
I'm like, oh
I
no.
was drunk.
So probably. No, so we have a lot of turquoise and stuff. So for me coming to San Diego, it wasn't as big of a culture shock. Like so Arizona, where I'm from in Arizona, it's like it's a city of like over 1 million people, but it's a very like small town feel. Like I knew the same people going from kindergarten to high school.
Yuck.
Like people I went to college with, like I knew a lot of them as well because like we just stayed and everything. And coming to San Diego, the only difference really was that it's a little bit faster paced. It's not a lot because San Diego is still a very chill
Oh my
lifestyle, which
god.
works for me because I was like, I will go through like such a shock if I have to like deal with people like, and it's really funny because apparently I'm the only one that has road rage here, right?
Yeah, I could probably. Yeah, I could tell. I could tell. Yeah, because that's what I ask people like when they go to these new cities that are kind of like in my head dramatically different. I always ask them like, is there a bit of a culture shock? Because when I moved from New York City, born and raised, went to Albany for school,
Hmm.
upstate New York, and then I went from
Yeah.
Albany to Washington D.C. I was the only one experiencing culture shock from New York City to DC because it was just slow. I was like, what the
Oh,
fuck?
so DC was slow for you.
It was too slow. People were, and
Okay,
then
that's interesting because my friend's from DC and she's like always it's very like in her case like though she explains it, it seems very fast paced to me.
no, it was
So was DC slower than San Diego?
no. That was a different type of shock. I'm from like I said, born and raised in New York. Right, we don't talk to nobody. We don't look at people. Right, I'm sitting
Oh,
out.
you guys I know you guys are mean. You're rude.
We're
You
not
have,
mean.
like, all
No,
this bitch,
saying
y'all have bitch faces and you just walk around
no.
like
See,
not caring.
you're not from here. You don't get it. Right.
Oh no, you don't understand. When I was there, my friend was like, "It's a good thing we have our mask mandates right now." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "Because you will get mugged just walking around New York." She's like, "You look too nice."
Yeah. You can't. If you smile at people, that's rude.
She's like, "You look too nice."
That's a classic Colin Quinn joke. Shout out Colin Quinn. He's a SNL legend, right? New York City comic. He says in New York, people that come here don't get it. Being nice here is rude, and being rude is nice. They don't want to. They don't give a shit. Don't waste my time. Like,
I mean, I feel that though. Like, I honestly, I can appreciate that. Like, props to that. Like, I think I just, like, I also just grew up in such a small town where, like, everyone is like, you know, everyone. Like, I was calling my friend's parents' name by their first name since I was like 5 because we've all known each other for so long. It's that kind of a thing. But like, so you had that culture shock going to DC. What about when you came to San Diego?
that I was just about to get to that. So it was people just walking by my apartment. Like I'm sitting outside, like at the table, just waiting for people to show up to my Airbnb. And there's just people walking by, hey, good morning, how are you? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with that? The first day I got picked up from the airport, we're going to get tacos, right? We're leaving. My friends bring me back to the Airbnb. These old ladies pull up next to us, and they're like waving at us, smiling. I look at my friend. I'm like, did I leave my bag on the ceiling? I'm like, did we do something? He was like, no, calm down. He was like, people are just
That's just
nice
San
out here.
Diego.
I was like, nah. These old biddies want to race. Like,
These old ladies want to.
I'm like, I don't trust nobody. He was like, dude, it's San Diego. People are gonna be nice to you. You gotta just accept it. I'm like, that's so weird to me. Like, it's just
He's not wrong. People here are actually a lot nicer than is expected. My favorite thing is that everyone has like their dogs and everyone's like it's so pet friendly and like all this stuff.
That's what shocked me
My
about
favorite
DC.
really was it also pet friendly? Like with all the dogs?
Yeah, but it's mostly apartments. There's no real like space for
Houses.
dogs, so it's all corgi. So it's like little legs and fat asses. It's amazing.
But they have little like wiggle butt.
Yeah, it's cute. It's
I
cute.
love corgis. I love corgis. One of my really good friends from law school has a corgi. Her name is Maya, and I give him so much crap for it. But no, so yeah, my decision to move to San Diego, actually really funny. When I was applying to law schools, I didn't look at like, oh, rankings. Where would I like? No, I was like, where is there a beach? I was like, am I 10 minutes away from water?
Opposite. I had the complete opposite of applying to
I was
colleges.
like, where's the beach? How like well, undergrad was different. Like I didn't get a choice in undergrad. I was like going to U of A. I was going to stay at home. I was living there for 4 years. My dad and I I was so wanting to just leave at that point. My dad was like, okay, here, if you stay at home for all 4 years, when you want to go to grad school, he goes, you can go wherever you want, and I will still help you with like costs and assist you and everything else.
Very
I was
nice.
like, okay, deal.
Yeah,
I was like, deal. Did not, fine. I lived at home all 4 years, did all my undergrad degree. I did like, I worked like part-time, full-time, same thing, like did everything, took 19 credits, never stopped, like continuously going. And so when I went to law school and I was applying and I said San Diego, he's like, well, why is it? I'm like, it's next to the beach. And I know I can get it. And, like I looked at like their LSAT scores and like their GPAs and what they wanted. And I made sure I was like within everything to everyone. So I knew I had very high chances of getting in. But I was like, do I really want to be landlocked?
Yeah,
I've been
like,
landlocked for like 20 something
lived
years.
in a
like,
desert your whole life.
Dude, no, but like it's really funny because like I applied to Chicago and I got into like Chicago Kent and it was like they gave me a little more money, but the whole issue was I would die in Chicago. Guys, I died when I went to New York, it was April. I was dying because of how cold it was.
Oh,
and like
yeah,
the
you
wind
wouldn't
chill.
survive.
And so like in Chicago, it was the same thing with the wind. I hate wind and like the cold. You think I could survive cold? My parents were like, you're a beach baby. They're like, every single time we went on any kind of vacation, we took you to a beach.
See, that's another
They
funny
weren't.
thing. Like, it's like the San Diego people, like Arizona desert. You wouldn't survive. So I picked to go to Albany literally because my best friend's like, yo, I'm going to Albany, apply. And I was like, all right, no problem, let's go. We went. Albany gets. I lived in a frat house, right? Not ideal. Two broken front.
You were a little frat boy.
Unfortunately, yeah, I was the black sheep of the family there as well, so it was fine. Two broken front doors. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I don't go by temperature anymore. I look at the little number in the bottom that says real feel. Whatever that says, that's what I go by. The worst I've ever seen in my life in Albany was 0 degrees on top, real feel -33. With two broken front doors, and yeah, horrible.
That gives you trust issues.
Trust issues. I think it builds a little more character, right? Like
no,
yeah,
that doesn't build character. Everyone's like, oh, it's cold is mental, temperature is mental, and I literally look at
no,
them
it's
and I go,
not.
It's not. I run at 96 my core temperature. I drop so fast. I'm always cold. I'm like, it's why I'm always in like, it's like 71 degrees outside. I'm in long sleeves because I just freeze. And I'm like, no, we don't do this. It's not, it's like the second, I'm such an Arizona baby too. Like I'm used to 125-degree summers. Yes, winter gets cold and it drops down
dry
to like,
heat.
It drops down. Yeah, but you walk out, it's like an oven. Just like you walked straight into an oven.
Yeah, I have family that lives
then,
in Vegas. They call it the blow dryer.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. And so like, and then like at night in the winter, it drops down below freezing and like really early in the mornings. But like majorities of your days are like what, 47 to 50s, like 52, 55. So like when it drops anywhere below 70, I'm cold. I will be like, it's like 68 and it's nice outside, but I know I always have to bring a jacket because it's like within like an hour and a half, the temperature's gonna drop, and I'm gonna need a jacket.
Yeah, the other day it was 38 degrees here. I walked out in a hoodie and
Oh,
sweatpants, and my mom was like,
no.
it's gonna be cold. I was like, "That's beautiful out. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "It's been 14 the last 3 days. This is summer."
This is summer. It's really, I have friends that are Canadians, and that's the only reason why they went to U of A was because of the fact that it was like always cold in the winter and it's like 50 degrees and they're walking out in shorts and t-shirts. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's nice.
are we the same people? Like,
No,
do we?
no. Well,
No.
like people that come from tundras like Canada or not,
Yeah.
they're a different breed. Like they've got like layers of skin over their skin that like keeps them warm and insulated. It doesn't make any sense. Like you shouldn't.
Same with you guys in New York.
No, no, but we have commodities here, right? In Canada, it's a lot of empty space and snow.
What do you mean? Like, no, because like I literally said that. I mean, like looking at a map of New York, yes, the city is like only in one section. It's like down kind of like the bottom part of New York. So you
That's
can
where I
get part
live.
of
That's
like
the only part that matters.
yeah, I know. No. But then like you go up north and you got fucking like Buffalo. And honestly, just give it to Canada.
No, Buffalo's cool. They got a cool football team.
But like,
And they invented wings. Hello, we're keeping that in the States. There's not many good
but,
things that were invented here. Chicken wings, fried chicken wings. We're gonna keep that.
but like you know, like it's so cold up there. So like no, I feel like New York falls into that. You're in your own breed.
Okay, I can agree with that, especially when you come from 125, living near an area called Death Valley,
You want to know something that's
which
really
I
funny
get.
though?
We're coming from two polar opposites here. You understand that, right?
We're already on the opposite end of
You
the
live
coast.
in
Like,
a
we've
place
got, like,
called Death Valley. I don't want to even go near that.
oh my god. So it's really funny because like if you actually go and explore Arizona, if you go north, it gets colder and you get snow. My friend lives in Flagstaff, where everyone usually goes. Like you can ski, you could snowboard and everything.
Mountains.
They're getting like yeah, they get like feet of snow. I didn't see like proper snow until I was 18 and I went to Bend, Oregon, and like for spring break.
What's that
Then
like?
then I went snowboard. I don't know. It was
You just know, but like
super
never
cold.
seeing snow in the for like.
I've never seen like a snow more than like this much because it doesn't stick. Like okay, yes, it'll get really cold and it'll rain and like it'll stick about like that much. But then like by the time it's like 10 a.m., it's melted. It's gone. So it was the first time I've ever seen like 6 feet of snow that has been like shaved off so we can drive through the roads. And I'm like,
This is nothing.
wait, this is what it looks like?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
you got to shovel it too. Yeah, you got.
like,
How do you get
yeah,
out of your
you didn't
house?
know
How do you
this.
how do you get back to
I
your
don't know
car?
that.
Shovel.
I don't know
Throw
that.
salt on
I
the
don't-
ground. Build
like,
character.
So no, but like my friend in Flag has to deal with all of this stuff. And then like if you go to Sedona's gorgeous. It's just like about 45 minutes outside of Flagstaff. And then like when you go even more north, you're at the Grand Canyon. So like you get like to
That's a lot.
Colorado. Yeah, so like all the way it's a pretty big state. Like
Yeah.
I mean you guys started very itty bitty on the East Coast, and by the time we got to the West, the United States just got lazy and they're like, here, have this plot of land.
Yeah, well, because they just didn't really do much with it either. They built it like a couple major cities, like Phoenix, right? And
Yeah,
the border, like
Phoenix.
the coast, the West Coast doesn't count. There's a bunch of cities there because by the water. Well, you got Phoenix, you got Chicago, you got like what
Yeah,
else?
you got you got
St.
you got
Louis.
Dallas, like in Texas. You've got like Austin, Houston, and Dallas in Texas. You've got San Antonio, but like
I wouldn't count those because those are closer to water, though. Like water, especially back then when they started.
they're
forming
not.
those towns.
Dallas is so inland.
Is it really? I don't.
Yeah,
you
Dallas
know
is
what I
like
just
literally in
learned?
the middle of Texas.
Okay, this
They
is
were,
like
like
this is going to
San
be called the
Antonio is,
Tangent
like-
Podcast, but I just learned that Dallas and Fort Worth are like 2 hours
They're two
away
separate
from each other.
cities.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought they
they're
were close. I didn't know that.
How did you know that?
I've never been to Texas, and it's on the map. It says Dallas Fort Worth. I thought it was just two cities close by.
No, they're like 2 hours away, like on each side, and then like Dallas Fort Worth Airport is like somewhere in the middle.
I thought it was just like twin cities next to
No.
each other. No,
And then like in Dallas itself, there's like different areas and neighborhoods and everything. So it's very similar to like the San Diego setup where like you have North Park and you know University, Hillcrest, and everything else. So like Texas and Dallas itself, you've got like Deep Ellum, you've got the Bishop Arts District and things like that. So yeah, my sister lives in Dallas, which is why I know.
okay, I'm like, you know so much. I'm like, this is odd. I'm like, you're coming from
I'm
Arizona.
also-
Do
I'm such-
you
I'm
just
also-
know
no,
everything
I'm
about
almost,
the
like-
South?
Yes, kind of. I also have cowboy boots and I know how to two-step. Like,
That I respect. So my
Like-
one of my friends just moved to Austin, and I'm supposed to go visit him soon. And
yo, you're gonna love
you're
Austin, dude. I loved it
people
when
are
I
gonna
went there.
be out of their mind if they don't think I'm gonna be cowboy hat, fucking cowboy shirt, jeans,
So
cowboy
Austin's
boots.
Austin's a little more low key. You'll find that more in like San Antonio, honestly, than you will in Austin. But if you really want that, go to a country bar.
I'm going hard. I'm gonna be. I know Austin's like keep Austin weird and stuff. Like, I know
Yeah.
I'll fit in well and all. I'll fit in well in
Yeah, so
Austin.
finally,
I'll fit in well, but like I'm gonna when in Rome, like I'm in Texas, I'm gonna be like, "Howdy, ma'am,"
honestly, no, you should just keep your little like New Yorkie accent and just talk, like do all the thing and just shock everyone.
and just be
You're
like,
gonna get the whole like, where are you from?
I was wrestling the cowboy down the creek, just getting the water, just like no R's,
Oh,
just
I told someone it's really funny because like I'm looking at jobs right now and I'm applying for a whole bunch of stuff and like one of them is like from like Georgia and it's like in Atlanta. And I said this to my friend, I was like, yeah, there's one like there. And I'm like, why would I even go to Georgia? Like that's all the way so far away. And I'm like, and he goes, oh
it's
my gosh, I
awesome.
could just imagine you going coming back with like caramel highlights, the cut off flannel, like a little southern drawl. I'm like, I can already do a southern drawl. Thank you very much.
Just be
Like,
like, Georgia Peach,
ma'am,
how you doing?
sir, like, no, I can do it. No, so that was a whole thing. And it's really funny because he's like, yeah, no, you'd be miserable. I'm like, of course I'd be miserable. The humidity, the bugs.
That's why I haven't left New York.
We moved.
This is a conversation I constantly have with friends of mine. They're like, "You should leave New York. You hate it. You hate it." I'm like, "I will lose my mind anywhere else." Like, what do you like?
So
Where am I supposed to go? Like, there's nothing else to do. There's nowhere to go. Like, there.
there's a lot of places to go and
Luckily for
do.
my job, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can go anywhere. Like, it's
Yeah.
nice, but I don't know.
Why don't you?
I don't know. I don't know. I always have this conversation with people like, there's just something holding me into New York, and
Austin, you
it's
can literally go anywhere in the world. Like, go to Europe.
I. So all right, this is we're nearing an hour, but we'll briefly talk on this. So I think I have a chance to get Irish citizenship, which
Dude,
would be
do it.
pretty
If you have
cool.
the chance, it's really easy to get if you have the ability to do it. It's, I mean, like, it's not like easy to get, but the process is
Yeah. There's
self-sufficient.
like a law firm that's been like in my Instagram like sponsors or whatever. I don't know how the fuck these integrated ads, these
They
personalized
listen
answers.
to us.
Yeah.
Like this whole conversation that you and I have had. We went on
Well,
6, 7 different tangents.
I'm on.
Your Instagram and everything is gonna pop up with
I
all
have
these stuff.
about 30
Like,
hours of content on the internet. Like you can make a fake version of me and talk to it. I'm pretty sure at this point. But uh they're not really ideally set up like governmentally wise where like I'd be
hmm
okay moving over there and setting myself up. But New Zealand has an Airbnb I found for $1,200 a month, which is cheaper than any apartment I've seen in New York. I'd go fuck off over there for a month, see what the hell is going on. Like, not too bad, right? You got a whole villa right by, like you
Isn't
said,
it
right by the
sad that
beach.
like, dude, housing market. I need the housing market to burst, like
I'm just
apartment wise
waiting
and
for.
rent wise. Like, it's obnoxious. So the apartment that I'm currently in, like, I know we're gonna go over this hour. You can just edit whatever the
It's
fuck
fine.
you want out. But the apartment that I'm in, I've been looking at the. I keep just keep an eye on like the pricing every single month just to kind of get an idea of how the market is generally going in this area. The apartment that I'm in is going to be rented for just over 3 grand within in like these like last month, like when I checked. Like I'm currently grandfathered in. There's gonna be a small percentage of an increase each time. Like they already tell you that when you're signing your lease, but like 3 grand in this apartment. And it's like, okay, don't get me wrong. It's in a nice area. It's a nice outside thing. But like, I don't like, I was like, they could have literally, they just painted the outside. So imagine like taking the money that they used to paint the outside of the building and like you could put wood flooring in all the units. You could have literally put gas stoves instead of electrics. You could have like fixed things within the apartment. And it's 3 grand. What person, 1 bedroom apartments are going for just under 3 grand? Like what person, where are you thinking people are going to be able to survive in this economy where the time value of money is shit? And like, we have so much inflation on the dollar at this point as well that you're going for 2,750 something dollars on a 1 bedroom 711 square foot apartment in San Diego. And no, this is like all the apartments that I've seen, whether it's in North Park, whether it's
There we
in
go.
Mission Valley, in like La Jolla, it's way more. It's like 3 grand for like 1 bedroom.
Let me
It's like,
let me tell you something I've seen in New York. Right, this is the most
yeah, but
wild
you guys are
shit
like
I've ever seen. I talk
studios
about it.
are like,
It's not a studio, right? What? All right. This is two things, two apartments. One I saw listed as 0 bedroom apartment, right? I'm like, is that a studio? They're like, nah, it's a 0 bedroom. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like,
what does that mean?
don't ask, don't ask. We can't tell you. And then the second one was $1,600 a month, right? Lofted apartment. It was mostly hallway, right? Led the hallway. We had like a couple closets. Led to a like a weird square room, which had a kitchen, which was a microwave and a sink. and then you turn
And the
around.
loft on top of it.
The loft was a 2-foot crawl space above the hallway with an aluminum ladder bolted into the wall to get up to. $1,600 a month. Yeah. Every morning I'd wake up and get a concussion. Just bah.
So I literally found a place in like Little Italy, and like granted, I found this on Craigslist. It's already gone. Like it was a steal. It was a very gorgeous like 1-bedroom apartment, and it was going for $1,200 a month. In San Diego, that's unspeakable, especially in like Little Italy. Like you don't find this shit. And it's gone, obviously, because like if it's a real offer, people are gonna take it as fast as possible. And I'm sitting here like, I just don't understand like life anymore. And I'm like, what's there for our generation? Like people, we can't buy houses,
tiny homes,
or we can't find jobs. Everyone wants like 5 to 6 years of experience starting on an entry-level job with a master's degree to pay you $15 an hour.
That's why people push tiny homes. If you don't, they want younger people. Like, well, it's they don't want younger people. It's unfortunate reality of the situation is we can't afford land. What can we do? You can own this 400 square foot toilet and bedroom, like, and live in that, you piece of shit. Like, nah, it's kind of fucked up. Things are starting to change, though, I think. I'm also extremely pie in the sky hopeful. Publicly. You speak to me privately, I'm a fucking monster, but
I was gonna be like, are you a pessimistic optimist?
I try to be optimistic. There's some things I see, I see reality for, but there's some things I'm like, there's hope. Like,
that's fair.
Without getting too deep into it, like, I vote Democrat every couple of years. I'm like, maybe they'll change. Like,
oh my God.
Maybe I'll get
also,
something.
Like, how the hell is it like 7 for you but 4 for me? Like, what is this daylight savings shit?
It's not even daylight savings. This is time zones.
What? Like, no. Like,
It's how the sun
why
works.
do we have daylight thing? Why do we have daylight? No, because like with daylight savings, it increases and decreases the differences in time zones.
Actually,
Arizona doesn't have that shit. We don't have daylight savings in Arizona or in Hawaii. So like Arizona's doing shit right, and I honestly like that's. I talk shit about my state all the time, but that's like I give it 2 things: the fact that our licenses don't expire until for 60 years, and the fact that we don't have to do the clock changey thing every November and March.
So there's actually a historical reason why there's daylight savings. I thought it had to do with farmers, but this thing's telling me it has to do with the conserve energy for World War I and World War II. So we don't need it anymore. Is what it's saying.
Can we all just stick to summertime?
We don't have that outside of San Diego, right? We have to deal with winter.
No. But can we stick to like the longer daytimes? Like
that would be nice.
Thing, like why the hell is it like right now? Okay, it's 4 p.m. for me, right? Literally within the next 30 minutes, maybe by 5, the sun's gonna be gone.
Okay, yeah.
By 5 p.m., the sun's gonna be gone. Why?
It's January in New York. I wake up, it's gray. That's again builds character. Doesn't make us depressed. Builds character.
I'm gonna send you like a vitamin C lamp or D lamp, like whatever they do.
I have a big ass bottle of like 10,000 milligram vitamin D, the highest you can get. I call it sunshine in a bottle.
Sunshine in a bottle.
All right, we're closing into an hour. There's only one thing I asked everybody that comes on.
Okay.
Is when you're going through school, when you're like doing all your work, when you're grinding to be like the biggest agent out there. I don't know who to compare you to. There's a couple guys I follow, but I don't remember their names.
Pat Brisson. You've got like the guy that does Brady stuff.
Yeah. There's like this one dude that's name starts with an M. That's like signs every big name. That I'm like, this guy's awesome. He knows like he's making a shitload of money. What drives you to do this? Like what are you listening to? Is there music? Are you listening to podcasts or TV shows, movies? Like what do you got going on?
So I'm actually starting to pick up hobbies again and things like that because like I start this semester and I get depressed because like I have a textbook to rent is $129. I've got tuition to pay and things like that. Got it in. You have all this stuff and I'm a big music nerd. I've been playing piano since I was like 4 years old.
And that's where we bring you on now. Bring for your live performance.
Next time, no, I don't have a keyboard, unfortunately, here in San Diego. No, so I stick to music. I have like multiple like random playlists. If I find a song that I like, it's on repeat. I'm a huge movie buff, like kind of a person. Like I love really dorky movies, and I'll watch like really old stuff. And then I'm such a Marvel nerd too, so like I have watched every single Marvel movie that's come out so far. And I love true crime shows. Ironic because I feel like every single girl loves true crime shows because like
I don't
we're the
get it.
victims in all of them.
Yeah,
It's because we're the victims in all of them. So
it
it's like we can now count. I can literally identify a serial killer. I can profile them. I can identify them. I know how it's going on. Like they're not completely wrong
okay.
on these
No,
shows.
that's good to know then because we're safe. We're safe. We're good.
And so like I finished like I binge watched Criminal Minds. I'm currently watching Blacklist. I've got a couple more things that I need to like get on and watching. I love to cook and I bake a lot. So I have my group of guys of my friends. I always just like bake and I take over because like I can't eat a whole tray of cinnamon rolls, but they can help me with it.
They definitely can.
That's oh yeah, it's great. That's usually how I go about things that I do. I'm a big fidgeter, so if I can do something with my hands, it's really helpful. I'm trying to like I picked up photography recently again. I think what I'm gonna do is I want to pick up a dance class. I want to do like tango ballroom stuff.
So usually when like people are telling me I'm doing music recommendations and stuff, but this is the first hobby chat that I've had, and I
can even give you a music. And I can give you a music recommendation.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because 1 second.
Wait, what, are you knitting or are you crocheting?
I am crocheting, please. Knitting,
dude,
that is beneath me.
Dude, you want to know what I did through COVID? Like, you want to know what I did through COVID? I don't even have one with me because I've given them all away. I've been hand knitting chunky blankets.
But it's the same thing though. It's that hand.
It's like it's a crochet. Yeah.
You need something to
exactly.
move. Like
so that was like my favorite thing. I've made so many blankets. I can make like a huge giant queen size blanket in the span of like 3 to 5 hours just watching TV mindlessly. And it's like it's a version of like it's kind of like a crochet type thing, but it's like huge and it's because you're only using your fingers. You don't need any needles or anything like that, and you just like slide it through. And it knits all this like blanket and it's so nice. And I usually use like really soft like yarn because I'm like, oh, it's got to be cozy and it's a little fuzzy.
That's literally why I picked it up. I was like, I need something to do with my hands. Let's make hats.
Are you making hats?
I'm going to try to. I can't figure out the knots.
So like honestly, what I did is I found a YouTube tutorial. And so YouTube is honestly like the savior of everything. Mm-hmm. It gives you all of it. I don't care what anyone says. It's on YouTube. I've changed my car bulbs, I've changed my car battery, I've changed my car oil, I've changed everything on my car, windshield wipers, everything by watching YouTube. And then calling my friend in Brooklyn because he has a car auto shop.
That's how I know you might not be really ADHD. Because I'm impervious. I can't watch video tutorials. I need to read it. And like I'll read it 9 times.
I do
I'll
both.
miss things.
I read it first and then I need to watch it happen. No, because my thing is I'm a visual learner.
Oh.
So it's not even that I have to read it. I have to like watch it happen in front of me. And that's how I learn most of the things. It's the only way I learned how to cook is by watching my parents, like my mom specifically, because like prepare and put things together. I don't have recipes. I just like, I think she put this in it.
Okay. That's, I guess I'm kind of similar like with cooking, but like when it comes to like, I do try to pick up stuff when I watch people, but when I read it and just do it myself, like I grew up with this I didn't grow up with it. It definitely developed more in college when I was running this radio station here. It was if you want.
I did a radio station in undergrad.
Did you really? I winded up running it within a couple of years. I don't know how I find myself in the situations.
I ended up doing way too much hockey to even have time for my radio show, but it was called I think Tea Time, and we bitched or I played like really weird music.
Good. I played ska and got made fun of by everybody, but I had one of the highest rated shows on the network, so I was like.
So you won.
Yeah, I was like, people like the sound of what a 13-year-old thinks of when he finds that mozzarella stick. People enjoy that. All right, yeah, but do you have anything to plug? Do you want? Like, I didn't tag you like underneath you. I mean, like, I don't want people to go.
You want me to send you my tagging and stuff? I mean, like, I'm really bad.
That's completely up to you. Yeah, that's why. I just put your name underneath you. You're just Dalal. Is there like a nonprofit or something that you support, or is there anything, or is there just you have like a shout out? You say go hello, or I don't know, anything.
Oh my gosh! So
if you got nothing, you can say nothing.
Hi to Raya because I love Raya. She's one of my friends' children. Also, if you guys really want to help donate, there's a famine in Yemen. Find something that's not run by the government because that's never gonna end up going to the people. Lebanon is in the biggest economic crisis of the world right now. The dollar to lira was $1 was 1,500 liras, which was pretty equivalent. Now it's to have a dollar, I think is like about 22,000. So it's definitely way high, too expensive to even live. Never donate to any government organizations in any of the Middle East because they're not going to give it to the people. They'll just steal it. That's the whole point of why we're having all these problems. But if you guys find something, there's a place called Cali for Leb, and they actually do a lot of things where they donate medicine and then like and everything else to help people over there. Stay safe, guys. Like, don't be stupid, please. Like in general, like text your parents when you get home, tell everyone that you love them, all that stuff. Like, don't do stupid things. Be good.
This is actually the most wholesome ending to any episode I've ever had. I love it. No, we need this. We need this because the next episode, the episode that comes out before you, I'm literally like, black pill the world. They need to see things are going on. No, so we need this kind of different energy.
Because I wrote like a whole fucking paper about how like terrible like governments are and how it's like a whole bunch of nepotism, and that's why like there's all this inflation and like people are like governments are stealing from their people. So like if you can help, just help.
But also hug your mom.
But also hug your mom and like be good and like be better and like be safe and
Yeah. Oh,
like if your friend tells you to text them when you get home, like please text them when you go home and worry.
And that's a great place to end. Thank you so much, Dalal, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I learned so fucking much. That was great. And if you guys like more of me, you can follow me on my Twitter, AustinPiazza, or my Instagram and my Twitch account, Austin Can't Afford.
My Twitter is not private, but I don't know if I post. It's not private, but I don't think I post anything on it. But I'll send it to you, and you can decide if you want to put it up.
Okay, no problem. I don't use my Twitter for anything. It's literally just to have my name underneath me. Yeah, so that's the show, guys. Thank you, Dalal, and thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll see you guys real soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye.